All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us at Facebook's platform Meetup in Jakarta. We are really excited to have you with us today. It's been an amazing journey that we've had with you so far, and so thank you very much for coming here. And for those that are actually joining us through live feed, thank you for being here with us on your screen. We have an exciting agenda lined up for you today, so let's get started. So before we get started, for those who had a chance to actually turn around your lanyard and take a look at the back of your card, you'll probably see this coming up. This is our platform Meetup chatbot. I'm going to have to take you out of your phone to scan the bot, so the code on the paper behind your tag, so that you are able to view the schedule for the rest of the day today and have a good idea of what's lined up for you. So for starters, I'm Christine. I lead Platform Partnership for the APAC region. Very excited again to be here with you. For the past decade, Facebook has been focused on making the world more open and connected. Having the power to be able to connect people and share with people will always be a huge part of who we are. But if you look around the world today, our society is still so divided. We realize that we have a responsibility to do more, not just connect the world, but to bring the world closer together. We want to build a world where everyone has a sense of purpose and community, because ultimately, our company's mission is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Back in 2007, we want to enable this community to build with us, and that led to the creation of the Facebook platform. At the point of launch, we had 24 million people using Facebook. Fast forward 10 years, and I'm proud to say that we now have 2 billion people using Facebook. As each year goes by, more and more people are beginning to realize the opportunities and challenges that they are facing. And some of these opportunity and challenges can be really complex. The only way we can figure a way to build something of consequence is when we realize how we can actually invest in each other and build together. One particular concept that I believe strongly in is called the multiplier effect. This is a phenomenon when a change in an input, such as government spending, will lead to a greater change in its output, like GDP. So if you take, for example, a city that's looking to invest on building a road, that investment will lead to better transportation, it will lead to greater distribution of goods, it will foster better commerce, and as a result, it will give you better opportunities to look at growth and investment, and that's all what we are looking for. I believe that this same concept applies to this community as well. If we thoughtfully invest in one another, we will be able to be like multipliers, and we will be able to touch more people, we'll be able to allow for our communities to grow over time, and with that, changes, improvements, and better connections. For the last 10 years in Facebook, our approach to investing in this community has been in twofolds, by building programs and products. On the program side, many of you are probably familiar with FB Start, which remains our global program to support early-stage startups. And this program will help you in its three-pronged approach of free tools, support from Facebook, and access to a global community of mobile startups. Each year, in fact, earlier this year, we announced the launch of our FB Start Apps of the Year competition. This is a competition that recognizes the most promising and successful mobile startups in the global program. Each year, we are really impressed with the quality of startups that we see in the competition and the ability for them to show traction, growth, success, and also amazing consumer experiences and design. Our competition this year saw 5 winners, and this is through a submission of 900 participants across 87 countries. So I'm proud to share that our best regional app for APAC this year goes to Maya from India. Maya is a menstrual cycle tracker app that gives women the power to be able to track their health, monitor any sort of health symptoms, and also connect with health experts. It was launched in 2004 by John Paul and Raul Molina. Maya's on a mission to be able to transform women's health through technology, and they have touched women from 190 countries, from Russia, Korea, India, and Brazil. With Facebook Analytics, Maya noticed that 10% of their user base have started to increase their interest in understanding the chances of them to get conception. And because of this growing interest in the topic, Maya has now used that information to build a new pregnancy tracker to help provide more value to women. Maya is a strong demonstration of growth and sustained success, and they definitely are a multiplier. We've seen how our investment in the community has multiplied, and we want to invest in anyone who is a potential multiplier, which is why we launched Developer Circles earlier this year to enable this community and other communities of developers who are looking to exchange technical information about Facebook platform and beyond. So whether you are a student learning how to code or an experienced coder who's learning to build or want to build, do join one of these circles where you can find a meaningful community to work with you. This Developer Circles is led by local volunteers and members of the community, and they act as leads for the circle, organizing meetups and also managing our online Facebook community group. Let's take a look at our Developer Circle in Malang. The circle runs an active, busy program of meetups for the local communities, and through various topics and tech talks, they bring value to the members of the community so that they can understand not just the platform, but other interesting tech topics as well. So here's a moment where I want to shout out and say hello to Andy, who's our lead from the Malang DevC. He's joining us through our live feed today. Hi, Andy. We've been piloting this program for almost a year now, and we've seen tremendous success. If you're interested in joining a developer circle, please head out to our developer site today to join one that's in your area. As I mentioned, in addition to programs, we continue to invest in products for this community. Our long-term goal and vision is to have what we have today, products and services and tools, to be able to help every consumer business in the world. And that actually requires for us to rethink the traditional definition of developers. Today, more and more non-technical types are actually joining this community. They could be artists, NGOs, marketeers, and business owners looking to leverage and use our products to fuel their ambition. They too are multipliers and are part of this community. For example, Rappler from Philippines is an online news site that is using our messenger platform to reach more Filipinos. Maria, that you see here, saw tremendous potential to use technology for journalism throughout Philippines. Recently, Rappler integrated a messenger bot to share top news for the day where food stories could be viewed in a single chat box. And top stories are being sent every morning automatically to any subscriber of their chatbot. Rappler has seen 80% conversion of a new messenger user using their chatbot and click through to a call to action button. Rappler is working towards building a more informed community. Rappler is a multiplier. Maria from Rappler is just one example of how she is demonstrating that multiplied impact is possible when we invest on building the right things for each other. So now let's look at another multiplier who's using the tools that we have, specifically our identity tools, to connect people with information. Here's Naya, the co-founder of Baby Chakra in India, who is using our core platform identity tools. Baby Chakra was formed as a social discovery platform to help young women looking for advice and information. Baby Chakra wants to be a trusted companion app for all parenting needs. And so they have integrated Facebook login so that users can easily log in to their platform and be authenticated through their Facebook accounts. Since integration, they have seen over 60% of all Baby Chakra users logging in through Facebook login with authentic profiles. Naya 2 is a multiplier. In addition to making it easier for people to connect with you across various channels, it's also important and important for us to make it easier for you to understand these users. So now let's talk a little bit about measurement and analytics. 2 years ago, we gave you a powerful solution for apps. This year, we announced all the new features that were brought on the product and offerings under a new name, Facebook Analytics. Over the years, we've grown this product and this platform into something that's more robust with various omni-channel access and solution. We've also added support for Facebook pages, which many of you potentially are using, and also offline conversion, which is important for us today. The newest feature to Facebook Analytics is Automated Insights, which gives you a simplified view of your daily data-driven consumption and decision-making process. Combining sophisticated machine learning and artificial intelligence, Facebook Analytics and Automated Insights will identify the trends and opportunities and present them to you automatically in a rank feed for your daily usage and decision-making process. I'm excited with what the future holds. We've grown so much together, but more importantly is who we've grown with. When I look back at what we've accomplished over the past decade, I can't help but to feel optimistic about what the future holds for all of us. You have made the world a lot more connected. You have entertained people. You have made transportation more accessible. You have brought news to your community, and you have empowered citizens. All of these validates the multiplier effect and the importance for us to be investing in each other and build together so that we can build something of consequence. I want to share a quote with you that still remains true today as we take and start the next 10 years together. Now is the time to build and to go beyond what has been possible. We'll be covering a variety of these topics later today. If you have not seen it through the chatbot yet, identity tools, mobile app ads, analytics, and audience network. Let's build together and start this journey together. Next up, learn more about the first touch point around how do you actually break down the barriers of entry with Alice. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So, as Christine mentioned, my name is Alice, and I manage platform partnerships for Southeast Asia. Before I get started, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your precious weekend to spend it with us. So really, really appreciate that. And as Christine mentioned, I'll be sharing with you on how to make meaningful connections, customer connections with Facebook Login and Account Kit. So yes, we're going to talk about dating your customer. And speaking of dating, I'd like to tell you that before I met my husband, many, many, many years ago, before online dating ever took off, I too was in the dating scene, and I absolutely hated it. It was terrible. I remember going to a gathering, you have a bunch of strangers, everyone is checking each other out, sizing each other up, and then inevitably somebody will go to somebody else and ask for their name, make some chit-chat, and at some point somebody's going to ask, so what's your number? And then somebody's going to get rejected, or, hopefully somebody's going to say, yes, here's my number, here's my contact information. They fall in love, and they live happily ever after. So much like dating in the real life, In business, you're also dating your customer. The customer comes onto the website or to the app for the very, very first time, and they're checking your site out, right? Like, how is your user interface? Is it attractive? Is it easy to use? And then at some point, they're going to come here where you ask your customer for their information. What's your name? What's your contact information? And then the customer has to decide whether or not they're going to give you that information. And to decide, you need to make sure you make it easy and simple for consumers. You also have to make a good first impression, and you have to provide an engaging experience. Now, that sounds super easy said, but much harder done. So before we get into some tips on how to do that, let's first understand the login landscape. So according to a 2016 study by Login Radius, we found that users tend to choose login methods based off of three things: convenience, control, and trust and safety. But if you look at the data, it's not all created equal. 65% of users value convenience above all else. And specifically, they say they don't want to fill out the same information over and over again because, similar to me, I am lazy and I am forgetful. I don't know which version of what password I've entered where because I probably have like 100 accounts over different websites and apps, and I don't know if it's a capital M or lowercase m. No idea. So that's why 93% of consumers prefer social login over traditional email registration on websites. And we find that the top three most popular login methods are Facebook login, email, and increasingly phone number. And this is especially true in this part of the world where a lot of the internet users are mobile first, and especially young users where they may not even check their email, they may not even have an email, but they definitely have a phone number. And so that's why we have two complementary registration tools: Facebook login as well as Account Kit. So Account Kit provides you with users with a way to log in via email as well as phone number. And with Facebook login, so how many of you guys have actually used Facebook login? Yeah? Okay, so a lot of people. So as you know, it's pretty easy. It's like 2 taps. It uses your Facebook information to, voila, create an account. It's that easy. And apparently, so many people find it easy that 350 million people log into a new app every month via Facebook. And a lot of our businesses that have Facebook login find 3 key benefits. They find they have higher lifetime customer value because now a customer like me who is lazy and forgetful isn't like, oh, I don't know, I can't figure out this password, forget it, I'm just going to abandon this site. They're actually going to keep on coming back. They can create personalized experiences as well as social experiences based on the information gathered through Facebook login, as well as have cross-platform identity. And this is actually one of my favorite because I have 2 mobile phones, so one for work, one for play, and also 2 laptops, one for work and one for play, and I can never remember, where I've logged in. So with Facebook login, no matter what device or what platform you're on, you're always logged in as you. And Saavn, which is a popular music app in India, has found similar results. So they see 3 times more shares from Facebook login users. They also find 65% higher engagement among listeners who use Facebook login. And it makes sense because if you're on a music app and you see that your friends are all creating and sharing playlists, you're probably more inclined to do so as well. And this is the younger, slightly lesser-known sibling called Account Kit, but it's really cool. You put in your phone number, so the user puts in the phone number, like in this example, and then they verify the phone number. So a one-time passcode is sent via SMS. The user puts in the one-time passcode, and you, as a business, you get a real phone number, so a verified phone number from the user. And also, the user doesn't need to deal with email addresses or passwords. No password needed. The next time they come in, they're just automatically logged in. So pretty easy. And with Account Kit, we've negotiated contracts for you so that it's available in 230 countries and regions around the world. And it's available in 50 languages via text, so the SMS you receive can be in Bahasa, and also 20 different languages via voice. So we also have voice verification. So if they prefer to receive their passcode via a phone call, then they can also get in Bahasa Indonesia as well. So when we think about these different login experiences, we think about the customer journey. So making a connection, creating personalized experiences, and also retaining the customer to make sure they come back again and again. And so, and in April this year, we had our annual developer conference, F8, where we launched several product updates. And specifically for Facebook Login, we announced updates by adding additional surfaces, having contextualized permissions, as well as having express login. So I'll go into each of these. So additional surfaces. What that is basically Facebook Login is now available in 4 additional ways. So one is if you have a smart TV, so let's say it's a Saturday night, you're in front of your Android TV, your smart TV, and you want to find a restaurant that you can go to later on in the night. So now you can pull up your favorite restaurant recommendation app and log in with Facebook right on your smart TV. The second surface that we made available is Internet of Things devices. So if you have an Amazon Echo, for example, you can log in via Facebook as well. And then the third and fourth are very closely linked. Third is if you have a non-JavaScript site. So for example, if you target more rural populations or less connected populations, you can now use Facebook Login as well. And the fourth is in low network conditions. So even if your condition is poor or spotty, Facebook Login will perform and it will work. And the next one is more personalized experiences. So let's go back to our dating example earlier. So when you first meet someone, you give information in pieces, right? So I'll tell you my name. So I just told you my name is Alice, right? And let's say, we hit it off, we chat a little bit more. Maybe I'll tell you, hey, where am I from? So where am I from? And then let's say the conversation's really engaging and we continue to keep in touch. We really like each other. Maybe at some point you want to figure out when's this person's birthday so I can send a nice note or a nice gift. So basically you ask for information in real life in pieces, right? Depending on the context. So similarly, we want to make Facebook Login the same way. So instead of intimidating your users by asking a bunch of questions like, hey, what's your name? What's your birthday? Where are you from? What's your education history? What are your page likes? You can now ask them in pieces. So you can ask them first, what's your name and what's your email information? And then later on, let's say they're in your app, they want to create and share their playlist. You can ask them, well, can I access your friends list? And in this context, it makes sense to the users because they're like, oh, yeah, of course you can access my friends list because I want to share it with my friends. So customers and users are more willing to share their information. And using personalized information is really quite powerful in a app or a website. So in this case, it's TripAdvisor. So let's say my in-laws are in town and I really, really want to impress them by taking them to Bali and really splurging on a really nice place to stay. So let's say I'm checking out different hotels and, hey, I found that my friend Waisley has recommended and been to the Ritz-Carlton Bali. And I know that Waisley has really good taste because I actually call him hotel connoisseur because he's always recommending places in Jakarta as well. So I must trust Waisley because he recommended the Ritz-Carlton. So it adds a richer experience for users when you personalize the information. The next one is Express Login. So this is also really good for forgetful people like me. So as I'm switching around to my different laptops and my different phones, I don't remember how I logged in. Did I use my email address to log in? Did I use Facebook login? Did I use something else? Well, with Express Login, it actually reminds you. It said, actually, Alice, you logged in via Facebook login, so you don't need to create another account. And from the business side, this is beneficial as well because you don't have a bunch of duplicate accounts. You don't think I'm 4 different people across my devices. So it's really useful for the business as well as users. So Account Kit. So we also made quite a few updates to Account Kit. And I'll go into each and every one of them. So instant verification. I think this is actually the coolest one because, again, for lazy people like me, what instant verification does is if my phone number has already been verified on Facebook, you are automatically allowed into the app. So let me give you an example. We put in our phone number. And then usually with Account Kit, you would receive a one-time passcode via SMS. But in this case, my phone number is already verified on Facebook, so I don't even need to receive a one-time passcode. I'm automatically verified and allowed into the app. And on the business side, it's beneficial because you don't need to deal with, hey, will the SMS go through, or will there be some sort of user error in the process? You just automatically get a verified phone number, so it's easier for everyone. And we find that there's a tremendously high conversion rate when instant verification is used. So 97% conversion rate, which is phenomenal. It's as close to 100% as you can get. And next up, we also updated with Facebook notification backup option. So in any case, if let's say you don't have instant verification, the SMS fails, the user can also prompt to have their one-time passcode sent via Facebook notifications. And let's say, for some reason, that doesn't work out as well. We have so many backup options now. They can trigger a voice call. So they can say, okay, I didn't get my SMS, and I don't want to do Facebook fallback notification, and I don't have instant verification. Let me have them call me and give me the one-time passcode via a voice call. So this is super beneficial. So you can see, we can't hear the call, but let's say you trigger a call, get a call, and you get it, and then you can put in the one-time passcode, and now the phone number is verified. So we have several methods to try to get the user into your app and make sure that they provide the real information. Okay. And then also we've added more customization with Account Kit. So we listened to your feedback, and you basically wanted the ability to have more skins and an easier way to change colors and the UI. So we've increased our number of skin selections as well and made it easier for you. And then lastly, analytics. So of course, if you're going to install something on your app or site, you want to know how it's performing. So that's really quite important. So now you can not only track conversion, so you can know how many people that put in their phone number actually completed the process, but you can also know by country. So for any reason you see your conversion rate drop, you can say, oh, in this case, maybe it's Thailand that's having some sort of issue. And if you know the SMSs for some reason aren't going through in Thailand, you can trigger some of the backup options for your Thai users. And for this part of the world, I actually think, because I'm a nerd, this is pretty exciting too. We've worked on decreasing our SDK sizes based on your feedback. So traditionally, our SDK is available for a global audience. So it's available in 45 different languages. But we realized that not everyone needs an SDK that's available in 45 different languages. So let's say you only operate in Indonesia and your users don't speak Thai, they only speak Bahasa Indonesia, then you can trim the SDK size by selecting only that language. Additionally, and I think probably some of you developers out there already know this, but you can use ProGuard for extra localization. So with ProGuard, for Android projects, it basically detects and eliminates unused code. So it can further decrease your SDK size by 70%, which is amazing. Okay, and then if you want to learn more about how to integrate Facebook Login and Account Kit, we have a Udacity course that we can walk you through in detail. So we have engineers walking you through both products on the course. So if you want to go visit, you can check out this link, udacity.com/Facebook. So these are the updates that we just rolled out at our annual developer conference at F8. So we will continuously think about the customer journey and how we can improve that for you by helping you make better connections, personalized experiences, and improve retention. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to visit us at this link. And next, I'd like to bring up and introduce Yanni, who will share with you a bit more about mobile app ads. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Selamat pagi, teman-teman semua. Apa kabar? Baik ya, oke. For my session, I'm going to talk about going beyond the app installs with mobile app ads. So, a couple of things that I'll cover today is I want to cover, how the app ecosystem has actually evolved. It's moving beyond installs, and which is not the primary goals anymore nowadays. Okay, we will also talk about how our products have evolved over the last year to help you achieve your ultimate goals, which are, to find people who install your apps and then find value through your apps and engage over time, right? But before we get started, I just want to know who are in the audience today. Can you maybe raise your hands if you are in the business for 1 year? All right, I can see a few there. Are you sure, Pa? You're 1 year only? Yes. So how about less than 3 years? I can see a few hands there. And then how about the veterans, more than 5 years? Good, good. So I can see a good mix of newbies and veterans, right? And this is actually, regardless whether your business is new or you've been here for a while, this is an exciting time to be in the app ecosystem. We see a huge and tremendous growth over the years, right? Back in 2008, there were only like 500 apps, but today, fast forward, 10 years, there are more than 5 million apps on the Apple Store and on the Google Play. Okay, and of course, we also see a positive momentum in terms of people engaging as well as connecting with apps. So with that, I would like to go on to show you how the ecosystem has evolved and what are the opportunities as well as challenges that we are facing, all right? So in terms of challenges, we identified 2 key challenges. The first one is in terms of finding the right people who will install your app and then take valuable actions after they install the apps, right? And then because, for most businesses nowadays, installs are no longer enough, and we see a need that it has evolved beyond installs. The second challenge that we see is, of course, in terms of retention. So after, the users install, are they going to be engaged on your app? Because according to the study that we see from eMarketer, only 12% of users reopen the app after they after they install the app, right? That's only 12%. And another trend that we are seeing is the metric that you use to measure success. So it has changed, and according to this recent study by AppSeller, 84% of marketers, whether of free apps or premium apps, say that now they are measuring performance based on revenue and not only installs. Okay, and next I'll touch a bit on how our products have evolved over the years. Right. So back in 2012, we started with clicks optimization, and then we quickly moved into installs. And because of this, we are trying to match your goals just now. You are moving into installs, and we are also moving beyond installs to value. Okay, so I've actually used this word value for many times. So I would like to put this into context. What I mean by value. Okay, in these examples. There are 3 examples of what post-install means to most of you here, the businesses, right? If you are a e-commerce company, purchase will be your main value, right? So if you're a gaming app, perhaps you would like your players, to reach a certain level and then make some in-app purchases. And if you're a business app, you'd like your users to register for your service or apply for your service. Okay, so if you're sitting in the audience today and you're still thinking that install is still your primary goal, or perhaps you're entering into an emerging market and what you need is just installs in the beginning, all right? So we already have the tools that will match your needs for that. So for now, you can use the app install optimized for installs. All right. By doing this, we'll try to find people who are likely to install their apps. Okay. So you can also use this with various targetings that we have. For those of you who have run a Facebook campaign, you can use create a custom audience, look-alike, or interest-based. And of course, you can use various creative that we have nowadays, from video, carousel, to the latest collection. And you can buy across our family of apps like Facebook, Instagram, and Audience Network. In terms of measurement, you have the ability to choose whether you want to use a Facebook SDK or our third-party mobile measurement partner. Okay. So again, if install is your primary goal for now, these tools are all ready for you, right? So now I want to talk about these three products which are value-based, which will help you in terms of finding the right customers who will take valuable actions, and it will help you to scale globally. And lastly is to drive repeat value over time. So I'll start with the first one, which is app event optimization. So this slide will look very familiar to you who have run Facebook campaigns. So this is normally a user acquisition setup, okay? And I'm sure that this looks very complicated, doesn't it, right? So when you optimize for app installs, basically you want us to find more installs for you. But in a way that what you really wanted is to find those people who want to install and at the same time purchase, for example, all right? So in order for you to ensure that you get those quality installs, the high value people that you want, you are layering all those manual targeting to guide our system, right? Now with app event optimization, you can just tell us what is your goal, right? Whether it is purchase, whether it's register, reach a certain level, or add to cart, and we do have another 14 standard events that you can use. Okay, so you no longer need to think too much on how you want to segment your audience. You can go broad, and then we'll do the rest for you. Okay, by doing this, it is definitely decreasing the complexity on how you manage a campaign and how you set up the campaign. Right. Next, I will go into worldwide targeting. And this slide will show you what it means by worldwide targeting. So previously, you will have to create like different ad sets for different target groups and in different countries. Okay, but with worldwide targeting, you can group all this audience into one ad set, and you can target multiple countries. So this will definitely help you to scale up. As well as, this will save your time, right? And it's much easier with this worldwide targeting feature. Right, so I've mentioned about app event optimization and worldwide targeting. So these two value-based products will help you to address the issue, your challenge in terms of users acquisitions, all right? So the next challenge that we have is actually retaining the customer, all right? So app remarketing will help to address your retention challenge. And this is a typical flow on how app remarketing works. A user installs your app, and then she engages with your app, and then leave. And maybe she hasn't come back for some time. So instead of waiting for her to come back to your app, what you can do is proactively reach out to her by showing some ads on Facebook and Instagram, and then you can try to show some of the products that she has browsed before, and then get her attention, and then return to your app, all right? And app remarketing is getting more critical as you think of driving value for your app, as well as sustaining that value over time, okay? And the marketers nowadays, they are taking this more seriously, all right? If you see at this recent study by AppSeller, they are seeing an increase of 1,000% in terms of post-install initiative over the last year. So this initiative are something like, if you want to re-engage those people who have abandoned your carts, okay, or those who have not played the games for a certain amount of time, or perhaps to drive repurchase. Cool. So these three value-based products, app event optimization, worldwide targeting, and app remarketing, is actually meant to help you to meet your goals, as well as decrease the complexity in setting up the campaign. And so as of today, 80 of the top 100 apps that use our value-based products, the top 80 are using our value-based products. So I think if you guys have just started, you can try to look into using this type of products, right? And lastly, if you want to learn more about how you want to use these value-based products, you can visit our website, or I'll also be around here after the event, and you can feel free to ask me. Terima kasih banyak. Who's next?
Hi, it's me again. I'm going to share more dating stories. No, just kidding. No, I'm going to share with you how to engage your customers with Messenger. So instead of dating, now I'm going to talk about chatting and the way we see chatting. So we know that people are chatting more nowadays. In fact, by 2018, so next year, we expect 2 billion people will be chatting around the world. That's a lot of chatting. And we see this number as a part of a trend. So 59% of people say they've chatted more than they did 2 years ago. And over 50% of people expect that they will message even more the next 2 years. And we also see that trend reflected in our own product, Messenger. So with Messenger, we have 1.2 billion monthly active users, and that number is growing every single day. And in addition to that, we not only see users chatting, but we also see businesses getting in on the trend as well. So right now, there are about 70 million business pages on Facebook, and nearly 20 million of them exchanged messages with people every single month. And 63% of businesses say that their messaging has increased over the last 2 years. And the reason for that is because it's based on user preferences. So we find that 53% of users say they're more likely to shop with the business they can message directly. And we also know that that trend is even more apparent in this part of the world, where people love to chat, whether it's before they buy something, as they're buying something, after they buy something. A lot of messaging and a lot of chatting is going on. And so that's why last year in April 2016, we opened up our Messenger platform so that businesses can create interesting and intriguing bot experiences so that they can engage with their users. And since then, over 100,000 developers have built 100,000 bots of all kinds on our Messenger platform. And we've had developers and businesses build from all around the world and all types of bots, from news bots to customer service bots, etc. So out of all the bots, 100,000 of them, we tend to see 4 common use cases: raise awareness, acquire customers, enable transactions, and customer service. The first one, raise awareness. Now, this is really useful if you're about to launch a new product or launch a new campaign and you really want to create buzz around it. You want to get the word out for it. And a great example of that is Tommy Hilfiger bot. So Tommy Hilfiger is an American fashion brand, and for Fashion Week last year, they partnered with international supermodel named Gigi Hadid and created this bot. So if a user engages this bot, they think they're chatting with Gigi because it's in Gigi's voice and Gigi's style. And Gigi, the supermodel, will recommend what she loves about the collection and what she would recommend for you. So it's a really engaging experience. And they found that users are spending 3.5 times more on this bot than they have been with traditional digital channels. So it's been a really great experience for them. The second use case is acquiring customers. So let's say you created the buzz, now you want to get some leads. An example of that is called Jugno. So Jugno is a auto rickshaw aggregator. So think it's kind of like Gojek, but instead of motorbikes, it's auto rickshaws. So through the bot, the user can easily put their location down, put in their destination, and book an auto rickshaw to pick them up. So it's so easy to use that they found 3,000 additional more ride transactions via this messenger bot in the first 6 months. So now you've created the buzz, you've gotten some leads, but you want to make some money, right? You want to actually close the deal. So you want to enable transactions. So this example is actually from here, SalesDoc. I hope a lot of you guys know about it. So with SalesDoc's bot, it's really cool because it understands Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia, and slang as well. So you can try it out. And they found that it's actually improved customer response time by 55%, and it has 2.3 times more conversion compared to their web and app. So that's pretty exciting for them. Because since they do a lot of their orders via cash on delivery, they're able to complete the entire transaction via their bot. And then let's say the transaction's done, but inevitably your customers will have a lot of questions, like what is your return policy, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of the questions they may ask could be repetitive, right? So 80% of the questions may be the same questions over and over again. And that's exactly what Globe Telecom Company found. So Globe is one of the leading mobile operators in the Philippines, and they found that most of the users are asking questions such as, what is my data balance? What plan am I subscribed to? So they built a bot that's a human-bot hybrid. So for a lot of these straightforward, frequently asked questions, they can get the bot to answer. And for the more complicated questions or the really angry customers, they can get the human agents to answer. And they found a 50% reduction in calls, and this has overall increased customer satisfaction because you're not waiting online forever to talk to somebody. So we've made our messenger platform quite flexible, so you can design it in the style of your business, in the voice of your business. So you can make it conversational. You can also make it visual, so if you want to produce some images for users to choose, they can also do so. Or you can make it social. So let's say you have a very social business like gaming. Users can now share your gaming bot with their friends as well. And we've also built in a lot of great features to help both businesses and users. So one is account linking. So let's say you want to know the Alice in your bot is the same as the Alice on your website. So with account linking, you can ask me to log in really quickly via the bot, and then all of a sudden you can pull up my information and you say, wow, she's actually bought a bunch of books on my site, so based on her purchase history, let me recommend a few books that I think she could be interested in. The second one is persistent menu, and this is really useful when a user gets lost in your bot flow. So for some reason, they want to start over again, or they want to kind of go directly to the point. By the way, this is an example from the platform Meetup bot that's on your lanyard. So for any reasons, let's say you're like, okay, let's get down to business. I really care here about the swag. What swag am I getting at this event today? You can click on the persistent menu and select your swag. And then also quick replies. So this is really great for lazy people like me because instead of actually having to type in things, you can select bubbles to then push in. So you can eliminate any typing inaccuracies. Additionally, in April earlier this year, we rolled out the more discovery features. So we rolled out the Discovery tab, which we launched in the US, and we're going to slowly expand around the world. So with the Discovery tab, you can figure out, hey, what are the featured bots? What are the most popular bots? It's a great way to discover more bots that you've never heard of before. Additionally, we launched parametric code. So if you're at an event like this one, you can scan the code very easily and go into the bot. So you can, let's say if you are having an event and you want to do a promotion, like a lucky draw or something like that, you can have parametric code that will lead people directly to your bot. Chat extensions. So this is great when you're chatting with a friend, and let's say we're chatting and we're planning a party. So we can bring a bot into our conversation and create a shopping list. So it's a very interactive experience. So next up, we have a few tips to build a great bot. The first one is actually what not to do. So this is called death by decision trees, and we see that with quite a few bots sometimes. And so this is when you ask the user a bunch of questions, so a ton of questions before you're even able to provide any value. So first, the customer gets fatigued, right? They're just tired. They're like, oh, I'm so tired of answering these questions, forget it. Second of all, what if the user puts the wrong input? So they put the wrong data and they have to start all over again. So it creates a poor user experience. So instead, if you need a few inputs before you can start providing some value to the user, try using our web view. So with our web view, it's an easy pop-up window, and then they can just quickly select the inputs that they need to give you, and then you can add some value and provide some recommendations to the user. So the next one is make good use of your bot menu. So sometimes people put like a lot of random things on their bot menu, but try to think about what use case is your bot for. So if you have a customer service bot, then maybe talk to a representative or talk to an agent button is really helpful. Or if you have a shopping bot, in the case of this eBay shop bot, browsing collections is really, really useful. So think about what are some of the most useful functions that users want to find on your bot and put them on your bot menu. And then take advantage of all the organic discovery methods we have with bots. So we have web plugins, so message us or send to Messenger, so that you can put on your website, or maybe after your checkout flow, you can send an order confirmation to Messenger instead of to an email address. We also have codes, so this is great for online and offline. So let's say you're at a pizza restaurant and you want to subscribe and figure out what are the newest pizza flavors of every month, or newest menu items of every month. You can just scan the code and subscribe to the Pizza Express bot. You can also take advantage of Facebook page. So you can change your call to action button on your Facebook page to send message to lead your users directly to your bot. And then, of course, there's the m.me short links. And this doesn't only exist for bots, it actually exists for you as well. So whatever your Facebook name is, if you put m.me/ like John Smith, for example, then it will lead anyone to straight to you as well. So this is an example of the web plugin. So TechCrunch is one of our more popular bots. They have a lot of engagement, and they have a Message Us web plugin on their homepage. And basically, it's wherever they get the most number of eyeballs, they put the web plugin. So after you click on Message Us, you can subscribe to the top tech news of the day, which is great. And then there's also custom sharing. So you can customize the call to action button for your users to share with their friends. So you're encouraging more organic and word of mouth sharing. And then, of course, if beyond organic discovery, there's also paid discovery. So there are newsfeed ads. So instead of running a Facebook ad that leads the user to the Play Store, and especially in this part of the world where a lot of people are very sensitive about their storage space on their phone, they may not want to download your app right away before understanding what it provides. You instead can lead people to your Messenger bot. So people can figure out what services you provide, kind of browse your collection first before they decide to download your bot. So it's a great way to kind of lead people in. There's also sponsored messages, and this is only for people that have already messaged your bot. So if you want to re-engage them after a period of time, then you can also use sponsored messages as well. So I'm going to make another pitch for our platform Meetup bot. So be sure to scan and follow the instructions here. The first thing you need to do is open up your Messenger app. Remember, you need to go to the camera in your Messenger app, not just like your camera generally. So get to the camera in your Messenger app and then tap on it. Tap on it and hold, because it's not going to automatically just scan. So tap on it and hold, and it'll lead you to your platform Meetup bot. And then once you're in your platform Meetup bot, be sure to select your swag. You can also view the agenda and give us any feedback on how we can make this experience even better and even more useful to you. So if you have any questions about Messenger, please feel free to check us out here at our developer site. And then, next up, I'd like to introduce Kumbi, who will take you through Facebook Analytics. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I know we've started a busy day with a lot of information, so hopefully I can keep you engaged, and this is interesting. Like Alice said, my name is Kumbi Adeyemo, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how to measure your complete customer journey using Facebook Analytics. So as we mentioned earlier, feel free to record if you want to, but everything is going on the live stream in the developer circles. And so when you join any of our developer circles, you can actually go and watch this live stream again later and get all the information that you need. All right, so let's get started. So when you start a business, the first thing that most people are concerned about is how to acquire customers, meaning getting as many people or users using your service as you possibly can. But I'm here today to tell you that acquisition is really only half of the equation. If you're not spending as much time as possible also trying to make sure that you are engaging with the people using your service and retaining them, you are likely losing a lot of the leads that you have, and that's going to result in you spending a lot of time and money just trying to maintain the same activity on your app or your website as you've had before. In fact, from the data that we've seen, for the average app, you lose 77% of your customers in the first week only. As you can imagine, as you go over to the course of the first month, those numbers get much worse. In fact, 60% of apps are used a total of less than 10 times. We built Facebook Analytics to try to help you beat these averages. We want to help you to be successful because we know that we tie our success with yours. And so we want to help you use intelligent analytics to figure out and understand your customers and make sure that they stay with you and continue to go and drive to the actions that you want them to. Before I dig in specifically to the Facebook Analytics product, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about analytics overall over the history. So when analytics first started, when the internet first launched, all of analytics was really, really web-based. So HTTP allowed for just basic measurement. Measurement was URL-centric, what page they were on. It was very session-based, and we relied on cookies to understand what people were doing and how they were behaving. There's still some actual products on the market that still use this architecture. About 10 years ago, we believed that apps were the new internet, and we moved into this era where we believed that people were going to use apps for everything they do online. And so this forced us to actually do a better job at measurement because cookies and sessions and URLs just don't make sense in an app-based world. And so we started tracking user activity and transactions based on events and devices. But the thing that was difficult about this was that things were still very siloed. We were able to understand what people were doing on your website, but it was a whole different case about what they were doing on mobile devices. We believe that as the world is advancing, what you are trying to understand from your customers is what people are doing, not what devices are doing or websites are doing. And so it becomes important for you to understand what people are doing across devices. And as we're moving into this world, Facebook itself is becoming a really important channel for you to understand. It's becoming an important channel where you're understanding what people are doing with your business. So not only are they interacting with you on your website or in your app or in your mobile web page, they're also interacting with you on your Facebook page or in your Messenger bot. And so it matters that you get a full, complete vision of what your customers are doing overall. And so we're excited to talk about how we have launched analytics to also include what's happening on your page and what is actually happening offline to give you a full omni-channel view of your customer journey. So Pages support allows you to actually track and understand the demographic behavior of people on your page and combine that data with other data sources that you have in your web and mobile app. In addition, offline conversion allows you to upload offline data via an API to make sure that all the information that you have gathered from your customers, like their membership to your loyalty program or things like that, and actually pull them all together. Another great example is for retail stores. For people who actually come into your physical store location, you can pull their buying history and pull that into your information and actually get all of that, and so you have a full picture of all of your customers. We're really excited that we're able to create this truly omni-channel, people-centric vision across all of the places that people connect with you and allow you spend more time reacting to this data and making smarter decisions and not as much time just trying to combine all of these data sources in what we're calling Facebook analytics. We believe it can help you navigate a people-based approach to understanding your customers. So let me give you, for people who are not familiar with Facebook analytics overall, I'm going to give you just a very quick overview. So first, it's a powerful tool designed to help you grow and understand your customers. And first off, the thing I want you to remember is that it's completely free. No matter how many events you're tracking and logging in Facebook analytics, there is no cost to you. Second, it's cross-platform. As I mentioned before, if you have an app, a mobile website, a desktop website, a messenger bot, or you're using a combination of platforms, Facebook Analytics can take advantage of the 2 billion people using Facebook and combine this data to help you understand what people are doing versus each of the different surfaces. And then finally, Facebook Analytics is a standalone product. You don't have to have Facebook login or a Facebook page or an ad account to use it. It's very simple. All you really need to do is you implement our SDK, and then you can start logging events. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here. So the first step to starting to use Facebook Analytics is to install our Facebook SDK for your app, or if you have a website, our JavaScript SDK. And then once you've done that, you can start logging events. You're up and running. So I'm going to give a bit more detail about these. We already knew when we were designing Facebook Analytics, we already knew that there are millions of apps already using our JavaScript SDK for login and sharing. And so we wanted to make it as simple as possible for people to be able to take things they've already done and start to use Facebook Analytics. And so we're using the same SDK, and you're able to get started. On top of that, many of you are using Facebook advertising, and if you're using our conversion pixel to do any retargeting or conversion tracking, we use the same pixel for analytics. And so if you have that installed for conversion tracking, if you simply go to facebook.com/analytics, you are up and running on the Facebook Analytics product. Now, say you have both a website and an app, and you want to combine the data for those things. We have the concept of the event source group, which allows you to easily combine data from multiple places. And so the event source group is a one-time mapping that associates your pixel with your mobile SDK so that you can view cross-platform. All right, so once you have the SDKs implemented and you start to log your events, there's a host of different features that you can use to understand your customers better, and we're going to talk through a few of these, but I'll also give you some directions about where to go to see more of this data. Now, before we start jumping into the different features, I want to talk for a moment about events to make sure that everybody understands where we are and what the power of this tool is. So events are actions that people take in your app or website. For example, if you're an e-commerce app and somebody adds something to their cart, that is an example of an event. Making a purchase in this event, sending a message, or performing a search are all different types of events that you may want to track, because these are the things that are the actions you want people to take to drive them to the conversion that you want to understand. We recommend logging events for all of the key actions that people are taking so that you truly understand where people are coming in, where people are falling off, and you can actually drive them to do the actions that you want. So let's walk through an example to help bring this code a little bit to life. So imagine you have an e-commerce app where someone can look at a piece of content, such as a shirt that's for sale. In this example, the event you want to log is the content view. we're looking at what people are looking at. And so for this event, you can pass over a bunch of different parameters. For example, the content type in this case is a shirt. You could also log the description field. In this example, you can see the Oxford is a description of what type of shirt it is or the name of the shirt. And then you can view all of this data in analytics and break it down in different reports so that you can see things such as what type of shirt is viewed the most, or what cost of shirt is, what is the average cost that different segments of your customers are looking at items for. When you're thinking about what events to log, the first thing you want to do is identify the single action that you most care about. So for example, if you're an e-commerce app again, purchase is the most important thing. And you want to make sure you log that event. In addition, you then want to log every other event that leads to that action. So before people purchase, they search. After searching, they view. After viewing, they add to cart before they actually hit purchase. And so you want to make sure you're logging all of those other events so that you actually have a full view of the conversion funnel and you can understand what people are doing and where they're dropping down. The important thing to remember here is, again, there is no limit to the number of the events that you can send to Facebook. There are 1,000 different event types, but no limit to the total number. So definitely log as much as you can. The product is free, so it's better to have more information than less information. So given that it's so easy to do, log as much as you can so that you can have interesting ways to cut the data and make sense of what your customers are doing. All right, so we've talked about events that you can log and the parameters that you can pass through with those events to understand what people are doing. And so I want to talk a little bit more about, so events are a stream of activities that people take on your app, but there are also attributes about your users that aren't best represented by events, such as when they registered for your site or other offline data that you might have. So I like to think of events as what they're doing, meaning what actions they're taking, and user properties at who the people are that are taking these actions. And you want to keep both of those things in mind. To help explain what user properties are, let's use the example, and how they're useful. Let's look through this example. An event, like we mentioned, is like add to cart. What if the event can have parameters like the SKU of the item added to the cart, or the value of that item, or the content category of that item. And keep in mind that events are temporal. They're very time-based. So if you're looking at analytics and you select a specific time window, you'll just be able to view the people who completed that action in that window of time. User properties are different than events in that they're about the state of the people who are using your app. So if you're going to pass over a user ID, for example, you want to associate information you know about your users with the action that they're taking in any given moment in time. And so you might have information on their loyalty program status or their install source. Say, for example, you want to understand, your Android app is a bit different than your iOS app, or your app version, your version 4.1 versus 4.2, and you might want to understand which version people have and how they're behaving differently. And so those would be user properties that you send in association with your event. For today, user properties are only available for app analytics, but we're hoping to add them to web analytics as well very soon. So again, to summarize very quickly, user properties allow you to send data from your CRM or profile data to your app. And then by passing over user properties, you can segment your analytics using these attributes. So here's an example. We're going to filter the data to what this might look like in your analytics. So for example, we want to go to the drop-down and understand when a user registered and get a bit of an understanding of people who registered in a certain window and live in a certain city. And this allows us to take what we know about our users and understand how they're behaving differently. All right, so now we've talked about that. So now let's actually start to dig into the different features of the analytics tool. So this is what analytics looks like. And you can see that for anybody thinking about growth, the first thing you're really concerned about is activity and different types and what your different goal is. And so looking at this example, you can see that you can understand people's activity and base it on what makes sense for your product. So for example, if you are a insurance app, for example, maybe monthly activity is more important for you. But if you are a gaming app, for example, you might want to understand daily activity, or a social app. You want people to come back in every day and look at videos, and so that's what you might be looking at. In addition, when you're thinking about growth, you want to look at user retention. And so there's also some of these other default views that will help you understand how you're retaining customers in your product and understand the total capturable market. So you can look at different cohorts of your users and how they're staying in the system. Another thing to think about is when you're looking at this data, you can track things like return visits, but that's not what you're truly concerned about. What you're truly concerned about is how much they are doing the action you want them to take. Meaning, are they sharing or posting if you're a social-based app, or are they actually making a purchase? And this is really easy to do using behavioral cohorts. One other powerful thing is that if the event that you're tracking has a value, meaning if you're selling something, for example, and there's a monetary value, you can actually calculate automatically the lifetime value of the users over time. And this is really powerful to help you understand the health and utility of your business. We talked at the beginning of this a little bit about the user funnel. As we mentioned, I talked to you about making sure you're logging an event that tracks the action that you're trying to get users to take and all of the events that lead to that action. In this case, we also give you a great way to see the true funnel. Like, as each user takes each of the actions going down to the ultimate action you want them to take, you can see where people are coming in and where people are dropping off, so that you can actually you can market to them, you can target them, you can take actions to drive them to the behavior that you want, and you understand where things are happening. This, in my mind, is one of the most important features of our product. This is our demographics information. Using Facebook Analytics, you're able to understand deep and detailed information using the power of Facebook. The 2 billion users we have, when we're able to link them to the people using your product, you can understand deep information about them. This is all anonymous and aggregated, obviously to protect the privacy of our users, but you can get real information about people's interests and lives to help you make better decisions about your products. This is a great example. There's a company called Postmates, and what they do is that they're a delivery service. They contract with different businesses around the world, and they are able to provide delivery for a fee. And Postmates was trying to understand or validate the idea of a subscription service. They thought that it might be useful for them to collect a flat fee from their users, and then the users would not have to pay a delivery fee for each transaction that they drove. And Postmates was able to use analytics to actually find out that a large proportion of their members were already interested in subscription services. And so this helped them validate their business model. And there are many other ways that you can use this data to validate any changes or strategies that you are trying to make to your business model. Another great view that we have here is a percentiles view. There are a lot of other default views that you have in the system that help you understand different data, but I think that this percentiles one is particularly powerful. You can see here from percentiles that you can click and select on a certain segment of your audience, say people who spend over a certain amount, and then you can create an audience so you can target just those people. When money is tight, especially when you're a startup trying to build a business, you want to make sure you're spending your money on just the people that matter to you. And so the power here is that, say for example, you're targeting the people who spend the most, you can send information you can target just them to remarket, or you can use the power of Facebook lookalike audiences, where you can take the audience, you don't know exactly who these people are, but you can take data and say, give me another cohort of people who look just like this, because I know they're very likely to use my business. And so you can get a really cost-effective new customers. A case study I want to talk about is Find, who by using this percentiles view was able to target really cost effectively and drive a 14% higher purchase conversion and 20% higher retention rate with their customers. You can create audiences like this using powerful segmentation features and percentiles without having to do the work yourself. The system will help you generate these automatically. Another feature I want to talk about is automated insights, where we use the power of AI to help you figure out different customer cohorts and how they behave differently than your general population. For any apps or sites that have over 10,000 active DAU, you will start to automatically see this, where we help you understand, in this example, people using a different app version, how they are intrinsically different than the rest of the population, so you can make smart decisions about them. So that's Facebook Analytics. Facebook Analytics works for apps, for websites, for pages, for bots, and basically pretty much for all of the ways your customers are interacting with you. I want to make sure also that I know that this is a complicated tool and we think it's really powerful. And so we've built several ways for you to be able to get support when you're using this tool. We have our Facebook developer group. We have our help center. If you're logging over 6 events, you will automatically have access to our direct support tool, which connects you directly to Facebook engineers who can help you resolve any issues you might be having, and a host of other things. So please, this is definitely a screen you should take a photo of if you are hoping to use this tool and need to get help. So finally, I know I've been talking for a long time, so this is another screen that I think that are the key things I want you to take away as you're thinking about using Facebook Analytics. The first thing is log events and parameters for every key action. This is truly going to help you understand stop your business from being a black box and help you understand how people are interacting with you at every step of the funnel. 2, combine funnels with demographics to improve your conversion. Very frequently, you'll see with businesses that the people that you thought were your market were not the exact set of people. And so using demographics will actually help you understand who your target market is, especially if that target market might be different than what you believe it was. Build cohorts to understand retention and long-term value so that you understand what the value of a customer is, because that helps you make smarter decisions about how much to spend to acquire a customer and to convert a customer. Create audiences for retargeting and acquisition using segments. This will help you reduce your cost per acquisition. And then finally, use our DevDocs and Help Center to make sure that you're doing this right and getting the best out of the tool. To learn more, again, you can go to analytics.facebook.com. We believe in the power of this tool. There are over 1 million apps, bots, and websites using analytics today, and we hope you join them to harness the power of analytics. Thank you again for listening to me. I know this was long and detailed, and I want to invite up Eric now to talk a little bit now about building with React. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Oh, wow, you responded. Quick show of hands. How many people here already know what React is? Not that many. How many of you here are building mobile apps? Okay. Cool. Well, I'm going to talk to you about, let me show you my slide. I'm going to talk to you today about what React is, and then what React Native is, and how I think, or why I think it's important for you folks here. So before we talk about React Native, let's talk about what React is. React is something that Facebook engineers built to solve a lot of the problems that we had. And once we got React working in a way where it was good, we thought we would share it, because we know that a lot of people out in the world are going to have similar challenges as us. Companies that are using React and React Native are many well-known brands. Not only are they using React and React Native, but they're also contributing. So companies like Microsoft, Airbnb have contributed and submitted pull requests to the React Native GitHub repo. It's not just us. There's a lot of big companies already using it. Actually, I think a lot of Indonesian companies are also using React and React Native. We don't know how many people are using React, so we don't know how many developers are out there. But there's a tool called React DevTools, which it's a plugin you would install into Chrome. And there's over 700,000 people that have installed it. So this gives us a rough estimate. But we know that not every developer debugs their code, and not everybody has installed this. So there's probably more than 700,000 React developers throughout the world. Apps that are using React and React Native at Facebook are the Facebook Ads Manager. I'll explain with a demo later, that app, the Facebook application itself, and then also Instagram. So if you're using any of these 3 apps, you've already been using React and React Native. What React is not just a new way to build your UI, but it's a declarative way to build your UI. Let's talk about what declarative means. In this case here, we have a kind of simple component, and it's a like image. Everybody's seen it. And what we want to do is we want someone, when they tap on this gray icon, to switch it to be blue. In the kind of current or older way, the method you would do this is you would have some code like this, which would scan the page or look through your objects and see if there exists on the screen a like icon that is blue. And if it's blue, switch it to be gray. And if it's gray, switch it to be blue. In a declarative way, we would determine whether or not the state of the component is liked. And then if it is, we would render a blue like. And if it's not, we would render a gray like. A little bit different, but much more simple. And in this, with React, we believe that your UI is a function of the state of your application. State being all the data you care about in your app. So this still means that something has to figure out how to make these changes. And what React will do is calculate all of these changes. At the top here, we have another simple component, which has the like, the comment button, and share. And we want to transition that to be the view on the bottom. So let's talk about how this is done. React, like I said, will calculate the smallest changes that need to be made, nothing else. In this case, we want to change we want to add some text that says you like this. And we want to change the color of the icon to be blue. And then we also want to change the color of the like text next to the icon to be blue. Anything that doesn't need to change, like the comment box or the share box, doesn't change. And in this way, it's performant and really quick. With React, we believe that your UI are kind of consisted of components. And let me talk to you about what a component is. In this case, we can talk about a feedback component. It would be that top section that shows a blue like, some like information, like the amount of people or the names of the people that have liked this. I'm sure you've interacted with something like this at some point. Also, we have some comments. So let's look at what the code would look like. Really simple. We have a function here that's basically the feedback component. And we have a render function that gets called every time there's an update. So here we're returning back 3 things. We have that same blue like. Inside of that, there's some props, which are just properties that we're passing in. These properties are immutable, so you can't change, well, you can change them, but you shouldn't change them. They don't change. We're passing in liked, which is the state of it, like is it liked, true or false. And we also pass in a function. So when somebody taps on that particular like, we want it to trigger a function. Next, we have like info, this time passing in the count of people that have liked it. And then comment info, which passes in the count of the people that have commented. At the top, we have a constructor, and what this does is it sets the default value to be false, because when this component renders, we want it to be gray, unless it's should be true, then it'd be blue. And then the onPress function here is going to set the state, so it's basically going to change the state to be whatever value is being passed in. So, for example, if you tap on it, it would pass in like a true value to turn it on, and if you tap it again, it should pass in a false to switch it on and off. And then this would also update the like count. So really simple component. And gives you an idea of what React does. So with React, we handle the transitions for you. And so the code can be easier to learn. And because the code is more simple and more easy to understand, we also have less code. And this means you have more robust applications. You're able to build really fast. I'll show you later how quickly you can make changes and see updates with your application. And again, it's more reliable because we're not doing a lot of checks for stuff on a screen or transitions here and there that make things get more complex. So now let's talk about mobile. Some of the challenges for building on mobile, I'm sure many of you know, is that every time you make a change in your application, you have to compile it, you have to install it either virtually or to a device, or if you're a really big company, you're deploying to a whole bunch of devices to test, and it takes a lot of time. The other thing is if you're trying to build for multiple platforms, you're going to have an iOS version, some iOS code, and some iOS engineers, and you're going to have some Java code and some Java engineers. That's a big challenge, especially if you want to do multiple devices. And then as I mentioned before, imperative. Like the complex method for changing the UI can get messy and can get complex. And then finally, if you want performance, or you want some performance, or you want to access certain things within the API, the low-level APIs, it's hard to do. Some people try to get around some of the challenges by building basically a mobile web app. Everybody's done it. Everybody may have a mobile website that lets people land and look at stuff, but the experience generally tends to not be great. If you try to scroll through like a really long list of a mobile web app, you'll see some jaggedness, or things don't. These apps don't allow you access sometimes to all the low-level things. Like maybe you can get access to the camera, but you can't get any deeper. You can't get any access to the chips on board. Some people, what they will do is they'll wrap a web app in a thin wrapper, a thin client. And this extends some of the things they can get. They can get maybe more low-level access. But again, the performance isn't all that great. If you've ever used something like Ionic for a mobile app, you can tell that the experience isn't always 100% or as great as it could be. And so when you're building, if you want to build with the latest tech, or if you want to build for the really, really good user experience, the really good native experience, you have to sometimes choose. And at Facebook, we think both of them are important, right? We want to build really fast, and we want to have the best user experience we can get. And that's what React Native offers you. It offers the React declarative method of thinking, so cleaner way of thinking, but with native mobile experience. Now let's take a look at an example of a really simple application. All it does is switch this toggle on and off. At the top, I have a constructor, and again, I start my state to be basically false, so it's turned off. And then I have a handle function so that when someone taps on the text, it will toggle from true to false and false to true. And then within my render function, I basically check to see if the toggle is true. So if the state of it is on, I'll display a toggle on. And if it's off, I'll display a toggle off component. And that's all it is, really simple. All it's doing is changing a component depending on the state. Really simple mobile application. But this is a native app. So let's talk about the challenges and some of the solutions. Every time you make a change, building a mobile app, you have to compile and install. With React Native, I'll show you how fast instant reload is to allow you to see the changes right away. If you're trying to build for multiple platforms, it's hard. You have to manage two code bases. With React Native, you can have one environment for multiple platforms. Again, imperative versus declarative APIs, a little bit more simple to compose your UI by components and not have to worry about the state transitions. And finally, if you're building for mobile web, experience isn't always that great, but with React Native's native UI, you get actual native APIs. And as I mentioned before, this isn't a web app or a thin client that's wrapping a web app. This is a native application. If you use a view component, some text components or image components, they map directly. In this case, this is the iOS API. So your views map to a UI view. And then for Android, your views map to a native API, in this case, the frame layout. So you're getting a real native application. And all this works is because React Native ships with a JavaScript executor within the application, and your JavaScript code gets bundled together. And all the JavaScript code does is represent how your app looks and all the things that it needs to do. And it runs then in a native core. So this is a very native application. You're not using a web view. You're not using anything like that. You're accessing all the underlying technology. For example, it'll check all the things like the scrolls and the interactions and pass those through back to JavaScript. And any interactions and changes will pass back. Here's an example of the Facebook Ads Manager. This app is using React Native, Relay, and GraphQL. This app was built by, not by native engineers or mobile engineers. It was built by the ads team, some ads engineers. They built the React Native application, and then the same engineers built the Android application. So let's talk about some of the changes you get or the great benefits you get. Say I want to change the size of the image on this application. With hot reload, I can basically change my code, type it in, save, and my mobile device will immediately show the changes. As I'm coding, as you always do, like you introduce a bug here and there, and sometimes you don't know until you compile. But with React Native, as you're typing, if you introduce a bug, you can instantly see that something's broken. And then, of course, you see it, and you go back, and you backspace and undo whatever you did. And those bugs and issues will go away. So Redbox will clear out. Also, as you're building your UI, you want to make sure that the design is right and everything matches up to the design specs. And you are able to do this using the inspect element, which allows you to, again, check things like margin, padding, and things like that. Both of these functions or all these features are available on both platforms. So now let's go into a kind of more interesting example. So I mentioned before that React Native lets you build for multiple platforms. So in this case, we have an iOS app or Android app on the left and an iOS app on the right. And each of these items in this app is a list item. So it's like 5 of these list items. And for the Android app, we want to show an Android experience. It's important to have the right experience for each device. For iOS, if something on a screen is tappable or a link, generally we expect to see a tiny little chevron, which is a little triangle bracket. And on Android, things that, when someone taps or interacts with a link or something that is tappable, there should be this ripple effect. If we were to start off with a really basic example of this list item component that I mentioned, it would look something like this. It would start off with a touchable highlight. Touchable highlight just allows you to interact with it. And within that, we'd have some views. And then there's a chevron at the end. But in an Android app, if I ran this on React Native on an Android app, it would feel off. And so you can introduce ways to check, to determine whether or not this particular device that is running the code is iOS or Android. In this part here, I've added a line that checks the platform's operating system, and if it's iOS, it will show a chevron, and if it's not iOS, it would hide it. You can further keep abstracting this out so that you can determine, you can use the different things that are necessary for an iOS app and an Android app. And if you further keep extracting and abstracting out your application, you can segment things, again, by platform. You can have things render differently for Android than they would for iOS. And then one of the key features of React Native is that you can take this one step further. You can basically take your iOS code, put it in one file, take your Android code, put it in one file, and then when React Native bundles your code together and executes it, it would only render the exact file necessary. So in this case here, I have a basic component on the left, and what it does is it includes or calls in another component, but when iOS is run on a iOS device, would call the top component, and when it's run off an Android device, would call the bottom component. And this is one key way that a lot of developers have basically reused a lot of their code between two different applications. Facebook's Ad Manager, when it launched, had over 85% code shared between two. Nowadays, it's around 88%. If you were to think back, and if we had built this application with two different stacks, that code would probably be 0%. So think about it as a way to really build really fast and support multiple platforms. Other things that React Native offers you is layout. So if you're familiar with building for web, React Native gives you access to something similar as CSS. And in this case, it's Flexbox. Flexbox lets you create and lay out your data either through rows or columns. And you also get other benefits, like you can justify your content across the space. You can also align your items to be the tops and bottoms relative to wherever they are. Really useful. One quick example of what styles would look like is something like this. So on the left, we have a really simple, what you would probably see in a movie review site or IMDb or something like that. We have some data, we have some images, and the CSS, or the styling, is basically this JSON block at the bottom. It includes things like we want this data to be a row, we want the items to be centered, we want some padding around the edge. It's really easy and really fast to design using React Native. So one big thing and one big challenge is performance. With all the devices that are out there, it has to be multi-threaded to be performant. And React Native is multi-threaded from the beginning and by default. We have a main thread that runs all the touch handling, scrolling, so you always have a fluid experience. And we have another thread that manages how things are laid out on screen. So moving things around the screen or animating shouldn't interact with or block your main thread. Then you have the JavaScript code or JavaScript thread that runs all of your actual user code. One other thing that's great about React Native is you don't have to start from scratch. So I know some of you raised your hand and when I asked who had done or already has a mobile app. And if you want to try React Native, you don't have to start from scratch. You can actually start more easily by integrating it into your existing application and getting the benefits of all the speed and the hot reloading and the quick editing, as I mentioned. What would happen is you would basically take the React Native library, include it into your application. You would then create bundle some code together, put together some components, like design some views, and include that. And then you would have a React view within your application that would then render when you need that view to render. Really simple, really much easier to get started if you already have an application than starting from scratch and building. And one thing I found was that people that go this route end up taking up more and more of their screens over time. So they end up they'll test with one and they'll expand out. And so this isn't a silver bullet. We don't believe that you can build your app once and it'll run on every platform. Instead, we think that if you learn how to build with React, you can write for every platform. It's much different. We're not trying to solve for every platform, but we want you to be able to if you want to. React Native is open source. It's a very popular project. We have over 50,000, I believe, 50,000 stars, and we have over 1,300 contributors throughout the world. Let's talk about how you get started. So this is going to be the kind of longer method. You would have to install prereqs like Android Studio or Xcode. Then you would install the React Native CLI, which allows you to create applications, create React Native applications. These would create an iOS app for you, an Android app, and it would let you run it really quickly. And then you would initialize your application, and that's it. That's how you get started. The fastest way to get started is a different way. There's a community solution called Create React Native App, and it's really simple to get started. You would install this package called Create React Native App. You then create your project. So this would then create a project for you, and then you start it. And what's going to happen is once you run this command, your screen would show it'll basically start a server on your machine. It would also include a QR code. You would download a really simple app that lets you then scan that QR code that links to your own working machine, and your app's running. You can get started with an app right now in maybe less than 5 minutes. Really, really fast. Some other projects that Facebook has open sourced are things like HHVM. I don't know if you've heard of it. You should check out Relay. It's a pretty popular project. There's Flow. If you're building JavaScript, you should be type checking your code because it reduces a lot of bugs. There's also Yarn. Yarn is an alternative method for managing packages. As your company grows, you're going to want to manage these things because your build process is going to get slower and slower and slower over time, and Yarn helps you keep it quick. And Jest is for testing. So as you're building your code, you want to make sure that your code works, and it always works. And Jest allows you to do that with some really cool features like snapshots and all these really cool technologies that help you build faster. And finally, there's Fresco, which helps you manage some of your UI. So that's it. This is a great way to get started. React Native is a really interesting app, very popular, and as I mentioned before, a lot of companies support it. And here's the link again to get started if you want to try out React Native or share it with your team. Cool. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you folks very much. I believe next up is Preeti to talk about Audience Network. Thanks.
All right, let's talk about something very simple and very interesting. That's making money. Cool? Okay, show of hands. How many of you have developed apps in the past or own apps now? Awesome. How many of your apps are paid on either Google Store or iTunes Store? Okay, so I'm guessing the others are free. How many of your apps have in-app purchases? That's your form of making revenue. Okay, and how many of your apps are monetized by showing ads to your users? Okay, very few. And how many of those who raise their hands are using Audience Network? Ouch, 3. Okay. Cool. So, my name is Preeti. I'm very excited to be here to talk to you today about Facebook's Audience Network and how we can give you a very powerful and extremely easy way to execute ad monetization on your apps while preserving your app experience and app quality. You worked very, very hard to create your app, right? You spent a lot of time developing the app. You've thought about all the user flows, bugged, debugged, did all of that stuff, got a bunch of users in, and now it's time to grow your business, right? Audience Network gives you an extremely powerful way of delivering relevant and engaging content in the form of ads to your users, and this in turn helps you increase your business and gets more revenue for you. And all of this, while we do all of this with Audience Network, it also makes sure that you do not lose out on user experience, right? We understand, as app developers and businessmen, it's important for you that you grow your revenue, but you also maintain your user experience, because if revenue goes up at the cost of user experience, you lose your users, and then there's really no point, right? So Audience Network helps you strike that balance, where you are able to increase your revenue and still maintain user experience. How is Audience Network different, right? There are a bunch of other networks out in the market as well, so how is Audience Network different from the other networks? In a few ways. First, it gives you access to ads from Facebook's advertisers around the globe. There are a bunch of we have a few million advertisers, and these advertisers are looking to scale their business on Facebook and off of Facebook in their regional markets and globally. So the demand is unparalleled. As app owners and app developers, when you sign up with Audience Network, you get access to this demand from millions of advertisers worldwide. Second, imagine what happens when a bad ad shows up on your app. What does it do to your user experience? Not too great, right? Your user is going to leave your app. When an ad goes live on Facebook or off of Facebook through Audience Network, it is vetted by a team to make sure it meets Facebook's quality standards. The ads that you see on Facebook, It's the same quality standards that we hold ads that you see off of Facebook on Audience Network, right? We do this to make sure that your user experience is preserved. So your users do not see bad ads and bad quality ads, and your app quality does not suffer. Third is customizable formats. The best ad is really an ad that a user doesn't realize is an ad, right? How many of you realize that on your Facebook newsfeed you actually see ads? How many of you realize that, oh, this is an ad, right? Very few. All of your news feeds have ads in it. The reason why you do not realize is that the formats are native formats. The ads on Facebook take the look and feel of the Facebook app. They look like the Facebook app, they feel like the Facebook app, the content is so engaging, right? Now imagine we take that power of native ad formats and deliver it to your app, which means when you sign up with ads on Audience Network, you get to customize the look and feel of the ad to make sure that it looks more like your content and it's super engaging than it sticks out like a sore thumb on your app, and that, again, is not a great user experience. Fourth, the Audience Network SDK. It's extremely lightweight, right? You don't want to slow down your app. Yes, you want to integrate ad networks, you want to monetize, but slowing down an app is not an option. So Audience Network SDK is extremely lightweight. And last but not the least, what gives you more money is high fill rates and higher CPMs, and Audience Network offers best-in-class fill rates and higher CPMs. Let's think a little bit about how this whole thing works, right? Now, Facebook ads get results because they're personal and relevant. Facebook knows all of its users. We know who you are. We know your name, your age, your location, your likes, your interests, the kind of content that you engage with, which is why the ads that we serve to you on Facebook are extremely personalized and relevant to you, which is also the reason why you don't realize you're seeing ads on Newsfeed, but you're still interacting with them, right? Now, imagine we take the same power of Facebook's targeting and we bring it to your apps for you, which means your users are getting extremely engaging content, right? Highly relevant from businesses that they want to hear about things that they care about on your app. The chances that they will interact with these ads are very, very, very high, right? Because it's content that's relevant to them. That means that people are seeing ads on your app that are interesting and engaging, and therefore they are more likely to interact. And all of this together, the bar of targeting, the native ad formats, the engaging content, all this put together means that you get more revenue and you get to grow your business and your app. What are the formats that are available on Audience Network? There are broadly 3 formats that we provide. First is a native ad format, and I think I've been going on and on about it a little bit, and I will talk a little bit more about native ad formats. Second is interstitial, and third is banner. What are native ads? Native ads are an extremely popular format. If there's one thing that you need to take out of this session, is that native ads give you 2x more revenue than any other format, right? So it's extremely useful for you to just try this out on your app. Here's why native ads are different. Native ads are basically ads that look like your app, right? The same example that I was talking about on the newsfeed ads, they take the look and feel of your app, which means that audiences are more likely and more likely to engage with your ad, causing higher CTRs and higher CPMs for you, right? And this is not very difficult to execute. You might be thinking, oh, native ads. Now, in addition to everything else that I need to do, I also need to think about how the ad looks. I need to design all of this. No. We provide very simple templates. You have a choice of templates to choose from. You pick up this template that fits your app, and then you just customize. You customize a little bit of the layout. You customize a little bit of the colors, plug it in, sorted. It's pretty easy to do, actually. So not only is it easy to do, it also gives you higher revenue. The second form of ads are the interstitial ads. Think about interstitial ads as full page ads, right? You open your app and you see the whole interstitial ad take off the screen of your app. These ads work really well for some verticals like gaming or any app that has a natural pause in the user flow. Change of level, great place for interstitial. I just bought my tickets, great place for an interstitial, right? Made a booking, good place for an interstitial. Think about when you think about an interstitial ad, think about a natural pause in your app flow and insert an interstitial ad at that place. When you go with an interstitial ad, you have a choice of having image ads and video ads as well. Now, video ads, sight, sound, and motion, everybody likes it. Everyone interacts with video ads more. Higher CTRs, higher CPMs, and therefore higher payouts for you, right? So native and interstitial ads are the two ad formats where you have access to video ads as well as image ads inventory on Facebook. The third format is the banner format. Banner format is like an extremely traditional and common unit, very easy to execute. It's literally a no-brainer for you to do. Just take the SDK, take the code from developers.facebook.com and put it on your app, and you're good to go. What you can do with banner ads is you can control user frequency and refresh rate, right? That gives you the power and the control to make sure that users are seeing ads that refresh at a rate that makes sense for your app. If it's a fast-paced app, maybe you want a faster refresh rate. If it's not, maybe you want a slower refresh rate. So you still do have control on that. A lot of businesses and app developers have seen success with Audience Network. One such success story I want to call out for you today is a company called MediaSeek. MediaSeek is a Tokyo-based company, and they have an app Iconet, right? They had grown the app, and the user engagement was at a good level, and they wanted to take their business to the next stage, and they were like, hey, now we need to monetize. But they were also very concerned about the user experience. The last thing that they wanted was users to leave the app because they started making more money out of ads. And what they did was they integrated Audience Network's native ad formats, and they saw that their revenue went up by 2.4x because of integrating native ad formats from Audience Network. And by far, the native ads on Audience Network gave them the highest CTRs of any other ad networks they had used in the past. This is a quote by Aki Kawahara, who's from MediaSeek, where he talks about the 2.4x revenue after using Audience Network. Now, we spoke about a lot of complex products and features today at Facebook, but Audience Network is extremely simple. There are only 5 things you need to do, right? It's extremely simple. This is probably the easiest thing you will do today. You just configure your app, download the SDK, put in your app, done, create an ad space. Think about an ad space as a user flow in your app. Where do I want my app? That's your ad space, right? Create your first placement, and then you test an ad, you send a test request for Facebook. Once that is done, we review your bundle, you enter your bank information, and you start making your money, and you're growing your business. It's that simple. All of the documentation that you need to integrate with Audience Network, set up your first placements, do native ad templates, banner, interstitial, every single thing I spoke about today is at this website, developers.facebook.com/product/Audience Network. You can also go to your web browser and search for Audience Network. It will still land you in the same place. So don't fret if you have not taken down this link. Just go and search for Audience Network. Over and above this, I have a booth here at the back. I'm here after the event, and you can come and talk to me if you have any questions on monetization and how we can help you. After you integrate, there's a space in your developer dashboard that's a Need Help button. Any questions and concerns you have, click on the Need Help button, and somebody from my team will respond to your questions very soon. And with this, I'm done. And terima kasih. I'm going to ask Chiri to come and wrap up for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pretty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. So, you should be very happy to see me because I'm here to close up everything. So today, we've actually gone through the entire customer journey, starting off with the first touch point for Account Kit and Facebook Login. Then we move on to growth, where we talked about mobile app ads and what you can do with it. And my favorite part is engagement, where you get to interact with the chat bots on Messenger. And then Eric covered a little bit about React. And finally, Pretty, she just shared about Audience Network. And all together, analytics can be used for measurements at every stage. And that was covered by Kunbi. So I'm really glad to tell you that we'll be having office hours. We're going to start a little bit earlier at 12 to 1:30 at the back. We have 4 specific booths for identity tools, messenger platform, analytics, and Audience Network. But fret not. All the speakers will still be hanging around at the back. So let's say you want to find out more about React, you want to find out more about mobile app ads, Yoni and the rest will also be in the media chatting. So last but not least, we are going to be giving you some swags. But in order for you to actually redeem it, you need to take out your badge, flip it to the back. There is the code, and you can scan it. and then redeem a thing. So we actually have limited quantities of the swags available, so be fastest fingers first. And also, the other thing is that you can actually send us a message and tell us your feedback. To redeem this swag, you will need to fill up the paper survey that you find on your chair. If you don't have the paper survey, we have more outside. There are people standing by. Just grab one from them and then head over to where you registered to pass them the survey in exchange for your swag. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the viewers on Facebook Live, thank you for joining us today at Platform Meetup at Jakarta. Have a good one.
Some kind of magic that lies underneath could have been tragic, but we found the peace. Up to the mountains and under the sheets we go. Work hard and sleepless and wait for the dream. No time to
Hi, I just want to say that lunch is being served outside, so be sure to head outside there to get your lunch.
No explanation for coming this far, but things turned around when I turned on my heart. I'll thank the sun when it heals all my scars for good, for good. Thought it was impossible, but we always find a way of looking out.